There's definitely an energy coming from within.
The new pieces, which are volumetric, you still have to make an inside. The inside has to be available on the surface. You have to experience the inside from the surface. I think a lot of new work certainly is about inside. It's almost like a membrane part of it, I think.
There's a sense of containedness about these pieces.
I mean, they are about the inside, and the outside is almost like a skin. I see it as almost like a skin. It's not really. It's the inside for me is the important part, and how the inside and the outside interact with each other. The skin is almost is a divide between two domains, and I quite like that.
There's also a lot of grinding marks.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of I would call work-related wells, bits of wells and stuff. The markings of the making left on it, and they didn't need to come off, basically. And the marks that are on it are to do with its finish, to do with how it meets the light, how light touches and interacts with it. So it's generating surface excitement, surface energy.
You also had a piece of work at Cambridge called First Moment, which reintroduces colour back into your work.
Yes, that was at Jesus College, and I've been trying for a number of years to bring colour back in. I've been trying all kinds of ways of doing it. It's very, very difficult. I found it very difficult.
What made you totally wrap this piece?
Some of them felt like they needed to be fully wrapped, and so I was fiddling around with them and having some fun with it, trying the different colours, looking how they stretched over it, what it actually did to them. Some just didn't want to be wrapped; they just didn't work. Others, like this piece, seemed to enjoy it. It seemed to make sense that they're wrapped like that. So that was cool, finding that.
You could still see the marks underneath, the history.
It's very important you could see the marks. It gave this the kind of wrapping a sense of skin. So you could see, it's almost like seeing a knuckle or seeing a shin or whatever underneath. And I quite like that play between the outside and the inside. And it gets stretched in certain places more than other places. It gets wrapped over and folded. I just quite like the variety of way the kind of skin of it started to kind of behave. That was exciting. It was just another way of looking at surface and playing with it and having some fun with it.
This particular piece reminds me of some of your earlier work with lead.
I changed studios, or I lost my studio, was demolished, and I couldn't work in steel, so I had to find another material, and I had some lead, and I started playing around with that, and it was hellish difficult to work. I ended up using it almost like pastry, and I'd been quite excited by patisserie shops in Paris and how they evoke your lust for pastries and the kind of mysteries they generate in the way they're wrapping. So I started kind of making pieces from that, and then steel pieces, like Parisian wrap is one piece, it's a very old piece. When I had moved studios, I started playing with the lead, and then I finally started, I was able to actually wrap them, and that became quite exciting. But and I guess this is really looking at this, it's very similar, although I think that in those pieces, I think that kind of the inside was, I guess, more static, I suppose, I don't know. With these, I think the inside is kind of more fluid. It's quite interesting just seeing the difference between the two. They're very different. There's a different kind of density, there's a different kind of weight, there's a different kind of sense to them, but they are related.
So these coloured bands have a sort of holding quality.
Yes, they kind of hold a hug. Very oddly, they seem to enhance the kind of volume or sense of containment that the pieces have. I don't quite understand it, but I like what it does. I'm curious and fascinated by what it does. And it's nice using something very different, and it brings colour in.
Are those colours significant?
Well, only in the sense that they're the colours that work on it, and the way the bands kind of wrap the piece. Each piece demands its own kind of wrapping, and you have to spend a bit of time figuring that out. What the width of the bands, the colour. They have they want to wear that particular kind of colour and band. It's you've got to pay attention to the piece. Each piece, like 1,000 Dreams had the crystal. It just couldn't do the colour didn't work on it.
With the newer, smaller coloured pieces that you've produced, when I first saw them, I have this real yearning and wanting to own or have these objects, and then I re-look at them, and I'm wondering what it is exactly that's evoking that.
Well, I go to a patisserie shop in London called Patisserie Valerie's. I've been going there since the 70s when I was a student at St. Martin's, and they got wonderful coloured cakes and biscuits and things like that. And I always enjoy looking at it. I've actually never eaten one. I've never wanted to eat one of them. I eat other pastries in there which are more desirable. But I've always liked the colour, and it's kind of so kind of loud and like hello kind of colour. It's just kind of says, look at me, And it's cool looking at stuff like that. What makes you pay attention, how you pay attention, what it arouses in you. And I enjoy that kind of dialogue I have with those things.
They're also very self-contained. They almost don't need anybody to eat them.
No, they're kind of like motoring along. They're kind of like they're also a bit like toys, like toys, like little wooden toys or something. When you were a child, it's very highly coloured. There's fun about how the imagination is kind of triggered and how it's engaged. I think it's wonderful to see people, irrespective of their age, affected by something in that kind of innocence. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much, John.
My pleasure. Thank you.